It's time. Hey guys, it's night time, and before we start things off with my thoughts here, I know what you're thinking.
Hey, over here, over here. For those who don't watch the actual show, my name is Mochada. And here is what I react to as the comments of these videos of It's Nighttime. As followed. Why did you have this at the very beginning of this month? Like, the film came out the beginning of October. Why didn't you have the vlog earlier? We're getting at the very end of October? November? I don't know how time works anymore. Secondly, you know, we're seeing animated trailer reaction. They're making a series based off G3. They released the trailer. Why didn't you react to that like you did the rest of the Monster High live action stuff? And third, and most importantly, they announced a sequel. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah. All of that. Thank you, Exposition. Hey. The first one. Is it obvious why I didn't film my vlog reaction at the very beginning of this month when the film came out? I've been doing Scary Farm for the last month and a half. And since it's ending, this was the right time to do it. I'm about to do the final weekend as I'm recording this. So, number 2. Where's my reaction to the animated trailer? I was actually planning to do that. I had that saved in my history because I had watched the trailer beforehand. I decided now at this point not to do it, mainly because I figure my reaction with the movie would be a lot easier. And number 3, yes, I know about the sequel. Surprisingly enough, they did tease it at the end of this movie. I knew this was going to happen at some point. But what can I say about Monster High, the movie, made by Nickelodeon Paramount? Without spoilers, this is a whole new welcome for a new generation. G3 is in good hands. And now 4. The only reason I had to change the angle of this is because apparently, even though my camera had a half an hour battery to it, it suddenly changed to 5 minutes and I had to hastily plug it into my lamp here to charge it while I'm recording. So that way you guys don't get so confused and wondering why the angle changed in just a second in between stuff. So G3 is in good hands, along with, for the animated show, what I have seen from the clips of it, it looks incredible. I love how it looks. It looks so much better than G2. I sat through G2. I watched through those 2 movies. I watched through the G2 web series. The worst experience I ever felt, where I tried so hard to change for kids and it failed. How could you fail in a concept to make it more for kids, but went more backwards in it, trying to think, oh, kids will like this, and even though it looks like it, even though the animation is bad. No, again, like I always tell this one part to anyone who asks how I feel about G2, the second generation of Monster High for kids. In one of the movies, I feel like it's the second one. Oh, the first one, here's how I don't remember. I've only seen these once each. They reuse an animation walking cycle in a hallway 12 times, I counted, where this villain's supposed to be gathering items. It doesn't even change the way that they're gathering items. Like, when it cuts to them in the hallway, it looks like they're not gathering items, and it looks like nothing's changed. It is the most sloppiest animation I have ever seen in history. What more can you say about it? But for now, as we're about to go in, I'm going to say this warning. If you've not seen the live action Monster High movie, I will be going to spoiler territory right now. You're going to have no warning. I'm literally going to only give you guys 10 seconds before I start my thoughts on it, because I'm literally going after right from watching this. I would usually watch it maybe 2 more times, but I'm going into it right after I just watched it. So please, you have your warning. The warnings are all over here. You have your warning here. If you don't want to be spoiled, like I said, this without spoilers, this movie's great. Please watch it. This is going to be wonderful for G3, for not only the kids, but for their preteens. This is one that's going to be good for everybody to watch. And I'm about to talk about spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're in spoilers. People who don't want us to be spoiled have gone away. Good. I called it. For those of you who remember watching my reaction to the character posters a while ago, I called it that Mr. Kronos was the villain this whole time. I'm going to explain how I knew that when we get to that point. But story time of how me trying to recap this whole movie. We start off with Claudine is a skateboarder, which makes sense. Her skateboarding in the human park, and then her hood comes off. Boom, she's a werewolf. Oh, let's chase what we think is a monster. And we flash forward to, no, not flash forward, we actually go to her house where it's revealed that it's her 15th birthday. She actually is half werewolf, half human. Her mom has died. She was the full werewolf. Her dad is full human. His name is Apollo. I'm sorry, but that's fitting. It's like, I'm trying to remember if for Apollo is like Greek mythology. Like, I thought that was a wonderful touch. And it's Claudine's 15th birthday, and she just got an acceptance letter to Monster High. She really wants to go. She's been homeschooled her whole life. Not even going to the human world because, again, she's half human, half werewolf. And so after reluctance, her father actually wants her to go. And I can't tell where they filmed this, but the way the mountains looked, it looked like upstate New York. It looked like the mountains in New York. The license plate's in Evergreen State. I am highly suspect that Claudine is a New Yorker. But that's just a theory. That's an idea. So he takes Claudine to the entrance of Monster High where his mom, like his wife, her mom showed him years ago. It only activates with monsters. So once the portal activates, basically he says, I will be here if you want to come home. But he's so reassuring and it's so sweet. And he's like, remember, humans are not allowed in the monster world. If they find out about you, just come home. Like, you gotta keep me being your father a secret. And I thought that was heartbreaking. Like, she can't really say anything that she's half human. She has to pretend that she's a full werewolf completely, and that's sad. And then, of course, as we get in, we get, of course, the one thing I already knew about this coming in, it's a musical! Honestly, I was very concerned because I actually went into this only knowing the coming out of the dark song, and that's it. I knew some songs were happening, and in the way they do it, I know what everyone's gonna tell me. This is ripping off Descendants. I'm sorry. You're telling me it's ripping off Descendants? Huh. Weird, considering Descendants ripped off Ever After High first. Oh, I really want to talk about that part. But no, I can't because I unfortunately have to talk about that in a Patreon request. Basically, it's just kind of come full circle. Disney ripped off Ever After High by making Descendants. And then, of course, hey, we want to revamp Monster High? Let's get inspired by Disney's Descendants and make it a live-action musical. But hey, we're still going to actually make a cartoon spin-off series of Monster High, where Descendants they tried to do that, but I saw the animation for that. It looks horrible. But here, the animation for the Monster High cartoon coming out like literally this week. I love it. It looks adorable. It looks sweet. I cannot wait. And I have heard there's more characters coming for it, but for this movie, we actually see the very first day of them all getting into the school where, one, the school's alive, Monster High is alive. Oh my god. Like, the clock tower is an actual eye and has the pupil following you. That's terrifying. The school's alive. It can bleed words in the walls, make rooms appear. It knows when there's actually like something going on, like it knows that there's actually a half human in their midst. Like that is terrifying. So, like, knowing that a building is alive and watching you and knows everything that's going on. And it's not just the school, it's also in the graveyard. Like, it's the whole land. That's honestly terrifying. So we act for the orientation. It's at night, which makes sense. They have to get there at night. It's an orientation day. And we get the song. We also get that of introductions of Draculaura and her dad Dracula. We also get Frankie, who in this iteration, Frankie is non-binary. They go by they, them pronouns. And at the start of that, they were only about 15 days old. Oh, Frankie, you're a precious little child. Oh, we'll get to Frankie in a bit about them. And then, of course, we do see Deuce comes. He apparently was a prankster last year, and also he's apparently a sophomore. This year, he's not gonna be a prankster. And also, oh my god, Heath is still just a firehead dummy. And I love it. And yes, I do see Abby. And then there's also Gulia, there's also Laguna, there's also Cleo. And I actually thought I did see Venus during the some pieces, but it turns out no, it wasn't Venus. It was actually a background extra. I'm sad about that, but maybe Venus will appear in the cartoon. I mean, Spectra's appeared in the new show, and I have heard that Claude, Manny, Twyla, and Nephra are coming back to the series. It gives me more higher hope that Alpharetta, Rebecca, and Rochelle will make a return in some iteration or form to the series itself. But there is one thing. We know that which characters will not be coming back, as we'll get to that. But all the songs actually were not bad. They're made for TV movie standards. They're very well, nicely done. I will say honestly, the writing is the best thing. The story, there's the puns here and there, but the way they cleverly done the puns work. But they actually don't make it so punny. They make it it's interesting things. Like, there's one moment where Frankie is talking with Claudine is oh, this is a pickle. Anyway, what can I do to help? Doesn't actually make the pun. She's you're gonna catch me accidentally slipping into the original Frankie's pronouns. I'm so sorry in advance. I'm gonna make sure I say they, them. But they are just looking at a pickled pickle, an actual pickled cucumber, before putting it down. They didn't even make it as a pun. It's just like a clever oh, you think it's a pun? No, Frankie was just noticing this and then getting into conversation. Honestly, that was clever. I like that. We get to that of seeing the characters. Yes, I know Gulia talks. Do I have an issue with that? No, I like that she's a bit unhinged, though. She is a bit unhinged. She's a sophomore, too. Cleo, of course, she is the mean girl as always. She has a tiny arc where, because of situations, to try and be a little bit more nicer, because for some reason, she immediately makes fun of Frankie. And it's just been... Which makes sense, because Cleo and Frankie had that frenemy thing in the very beginning of New Girl in School, so it makes sense for a bit of that. But I also like that Laguna, unhinged. Laguna's unhinged, because Cleo and Deuce broken up, and Laguna is like, do you want me to bite him? And she unhinges her jaw, like in the trailer. She only does that once. And I just kind of, when I watched him, Laguna is so unhinged. That's fine. I wish there was more of her, though. She's there, but she's not really fully part of the story. I wish they expanded on her more. There's a few characters they have that I wish it was expanded on, but given the fact we're going to have a second film, hopefully they get more expansion. Like, he thinks it's more expansion. Abby, like, Laguna, and Gulia, hopefully they get more expansion for themselves, because they kind of do show up, like, more towards, like, the big boss battle, but anyway, we get the room assignments where Claudine, Frankie, and Draculaura are roomies. But for Draculaura, she's kind of like the doesn't want to be social, doesn't want to get together with her roommates. Like, this is my side of the room, it's your side, we have our own rules. Which I was like, okay, it's just like I know what's gonna happen. I know they're gonna be friends when we get to that point, which it happens, but. We get, like, all of them get the coffin, their phones. All of them get, like, the coffins. The way they have all the characters down is interesting. Like, I mentioned Frankie. They introduce themselves with their pronouns as they, them. They're non-binary, which corresponds to the actor that plays Frankie. They are also non-binary. And the reason for Frankie is how they are in this iteration is that they were created by their parents with all of the parts of the brilliant minds of history. Examples, Einstein, Madame Curie. They have the spleen of William Shakespeare, a few others. But they don't have social skills. Even though Frankie has a brilliant mind and brilliant parts, they lack social skills. And also, as they pointed, this is the first time they ever been to an actual school, because I don't know how Einstein was growing, for him growing up, but oh man, it makes it kind of interesting just knowing that for most of the intellectual brains, they don't, a lot of this modern technology for them is more new and more of experience for them. And to see that through Frankie isn't an experience in of itself. Same with Claudine. Claudine is new to the monster world, seeing all the different monster treats, seeing, always been homeschooled her life, so she's only know about high school due to movies, where I love Frankie's response of, what is a movie? Oh. And there were some good lines from Frankie. There was a moment where Draculaura was like, if you two don't follow this, I will drink both your blood. And it gets a pause, and Frankie goes, I don't think I have blood. That made me chuckle. Because that really does bring a question. Does Frankie actually have blood? I honestly don't know. I don't think they have blood. And then, of course, as we get through, there's the mean girlness of Chloe bullying Frankie for no reason. I honestly don't know why. And Claudine standing up for Frankie. And then, of course, the one thing everyone thought was going to happen. People thought from the fancy collector dolls that it's going to be Frankie and Deuce becoming a couple. Nope. That's not it. In this movie, for this generation, they have established that Claudine and Deuce may become a couple. They don't actually become official couple, but they do have feelings for each other, which is interesting. And after that, we get to Mr. Kronos. Oh, freaking God, Mr. Kronos. I butchered his name so much during the character poster, but I'm not grateful. I hope I'm saying his name right. But when I looked at him, I basically go, he looks human. Like, he looks completely human. I know Laguna kind of looks like human along with Cleo, but he looks the most human. It looks like the horns are just glued on. And here's where we get backstory of why monsters hate humans. Like, we get a song. It's part of a song that when he pulls out the guitar, Draculaura goes, oh no, he's not going to sing, is he? And starts singing. I'm like, Draculaura, sweetie, you're in a musical. I will find it interesting that for the song, the montage song going on, Claudine is trying to play catch up with the dancing because she doesn't even know this dance, it's like it's synced with everybody else except for her because she's half human. So I kind of like that little touch there. It's like a nice little, like, I don't know what I'm doing, just gonna follow what the crowd, everyone else is doing. Oh dear God. But it basically goes as this. We had Dracula, Claudine's mom, and I kid you not, this is why we will never have Jackson Jekyll / Holt Hyde in this iteration. Because back when Monster High was the thing, it doesn't really say how many years ago, but it's when Dracula's dad and Claudine's mom went to school, and they were friends with Mr. Hyde, who, unbeknownst to everyone, he was actually half human. The normal formula situation type of deal. When it was discovered through a trial, discovered that he was actually human all along, he was banished from Monster High, and then as soon as he got to the human realm, was chased by a mob and killed. Like, oops. But of course, Claudine's trying to figure out more of what to do, because she learns from the class from the teacher that Mr. Hyde had a secret lab hidden around Monster High, and it's left in his journals. And he says the way to find his journals is that there's a symbol of clasped hands. At the halfway point, I kid you not, I learned now that what he had on him wasn't clasped hands, it was something else. At the halfway point, I look at Mr. Kronos. I pay attention to what he's wearing on his vest. He's got a sweater vest and all that. I pay attention. I'm looking closely at his his vest. He has a pin on there. I thought it was the clasped hands. There's literally like a clasped hands like this, which is the Jekyll and Hyde symbol, which I thought it was a very clever thing to do. I thought that was it. But then I really carefully looked at it as I'm going through. I'm like, oh no, that's not the hands. That's the code that Jekyll wrote so that no one could decipher his stuff. It literally was at 30 minutes of the movie. At the end of the first arc, I basically called it. So that was interesting. So, because the reason for this is at certain points during the movie, it starts when Claudine is asked by Blood to do like the speech at a Founders Day dinner, and Blood goes wondering about her dad, because her dad was not on the application, just her mom. And Claudine gets very anxious and nervous and very scared. And her hand reverts from Claude to a normal hand, no paint, nail polish. Apparently nail polish comes with the werewolf form. And her hand is like a normal human hand for a moment. And then when it gets to the library scene, I saw part of this. I actually thought Claudine was bitten by a werewolf. That's what I assumed from the original trailer. I was kind of sad that wasn't it. I'm sad. But when it gets to Claudine trying to figure out Hyde's books, journals in the library, weird stuff goes on. I feel like it was Frankie or the school. I think it's more the school. And Claudine gets so scared that she actually reverts to her human form. Never in our life has she reverted to a human form. And she is terrified. And then Frankie comes in and stumbles upon what's happened to Claudine. And after helping Claudine calm down, first Frankie's like, I don't know what's happening. And then Spark's like, wait, I know exactly what's happening. Apparently, in her preteen, for anyone who's half human, half monster, in their preteens they have a moment where a fight or flight response, where it triggers where it will make them turn human based on their emotions. So, oops. So you're having a preteen, someone who just turned 15, who's going through her emotions, who in sparks of stress and anxiety can revert to her human form. And she's in high school. that can't be good. But in all honesty, Frankie is able to keep the secret, and with Frankie's brilliant mind is able to not only decipher the code, able to realize their secret coordinates, and finds the lab hidden in the graveyard, which is brilliant. And so but the graveyard is forbidden, so they have to go after curfew. And there's like, and then of course after a few bits things here and there, there's a moment where Claudine's heart goes a bit because they see Juice, and it's a whole love. They don't actually get together. They actually start more of it as a friendship, honestly. So I like that they may have a romance building. They don't get together at the end, but it's a nice romance building. It probably will take 3 movies until maybe the 3rd movie they'll get together, but we'll see how it goes from there. So we get to like Cleo overhearing Frankie and Claudine talk about Deuce, and of course Cleo's being Cleo is not overdue, so she enters the room, and Draculaura secretly uses a magic spell to make a pimple appear on Cleo's nose, has Cleo running off, and then once it gets to the nighttime, Claudine and Frankie make their way into the graveyard to try and find the tomb where the lab is. And they do find the tomb, but there's no entrance, so they're wandering. And apparently, Golia just sleeps down in the graveyard. It says no students or living beings allowed, but Golia counts as undead, so she's allowed to sleep out in the graveyard because apparently that's where her dorm is, even though there's dorms. I don't know. I don't know honestly about that, but maybe Golia prefers sleeping in the dirt. Claudine can smell something because, of course, she's a werewolf. She has a heightened smell. And they find Dracula at a cauldron practicing spells. And, of course, Dracula freaks out and says, like, monsters aren't supposed to practice witchcraft. It's a human thing only. And I'm like, wait, it's a human thing? So they don't consider witches for the monster world. Okay then. Different. I'll give it that. But also I kind of go, okay, but how's the portal? That's clearly witchcraft or magic. I don't know. Hopefully we get more explanation in the future. So after a good bit of talking and bonding, Draculaura agrees to help them try and get into the tomb, because she gets it quickly. It's like, so you're telling me is that you're half human and you need to find a way to get to the tomb because Hyde made a potion that could turn you into a full-fledged monster. And Frank is like, yeah, exactly that. I kind of that was a nice little quick way to show explanation off screen. So after some montage, I think called the Power 3, they Dracula is they're doing magic, but Dracula is agreeing to help find a way to enter by using a special entrance spell that's more advanced that should probably help them get into the tomb. But they have to get all these ingredients. Some are much more difficult. One of them is orc marrow or orc bone, which apparently they have to break into Bloodgood's office because she has I kid you not, she has a mug that says, I hate Mondays, made out of orc bone that was given to her on the day that Joan of Arc was burned at a stake, which coincidentally was a Monday. So they have to break in to Bloodgood's office. They only need to scrape parts of the mug, and through some crazy magic shenanigans with Cleo, where Dracula does a spell on Claudine to basically transform her into Bloodgood. So, which is a cool spell. I don't know how long it worked for, but it works. Where Claudine kind of tries to use her advantage to basically tell Cleo to be a little bit more nicer. And basically, I have my eye on you, I know what you're doing. To use the power of authority for striking fear. And then, of course, they just need some snake venom. Oh, how do we get snake venom? Oh, how do we get the Gorgon? Yeah. So Claudine musters the strength to, where at this point, from now until the end of the movie, until almost the final, like the last song of the movie, I thought this was a nice Easter egg. Claudine's in her original G1 outfit. If you pay closely attention to what she's wearing her G1 outfit. The jacket, the top, the skirts, the boots. That is a perfect Easter egg. She wears that for like the whole rest of the movie. So there's a moment where Juice takes her to this nice river lake, and they actually have a nice bonding. There's a nice song where he's singing from the harp, and it's actually nice, very touching. While Claudine is trying so hard to get one of the pieces of venom from one of the snakes, and then at the end of the song, as they actually bond, she actually gets to be honest. This is like, no, I should be honest. I actually need snake venom. I can't tell you what I need it for, but I just need that. And he's like, why didn't you just ask me in the first place? And I'm just like, huh. No extending things, jumping through hoops, just honesty. He's like, okay, I'll do it. I will say, I'm kind of grateful that Deuce wears the beanie throughout the whole thing, because they only show him with it off twice, which is once in the beginning, showing him with a full head of snakes with some hair, regular hair, and then when he actually takes his beanie off for Claudine to get some snake venom off. I'm kind of grateful that he wears the beanie through the movie, because I think the one piece of animation that doesn't work is for TV is, of course, the Gorgon snake hair. They tried. They really tried. I don't think it's good. So I'm so sorry. I don't think it's good. I give them an A- for effort. But once they get the snake venom, they try to do the spell to open the tomb. It doesn't work. And then, oh heck, it breaks loose. I wish I wasn't kidding. Because as soon as they get back to the school, Bloodgood, Mr. Krabs, and Cleo come, because Cleo, during before her original life, because when she was a human, knew about hexes and magic and enchantments, and knew that the pimple that was placed on her was an enchantment. So after some figuring it out and bringing to Bloodgood, Dracula is busted of using witchcraft, and they take her book. But then it gets worse. The whole school starts to shake, and a gargoyle almost falls on Cleo, so Claudine saves her life. An eye for an eye, huh? So after sending them to their rooms, Claudine does overhear Bloodgood and Mr. Crown saying that there is someone with an untrue monster heart in the school. There's a human. We need to get rid of them. And Mr. Crown's like, I'll do it. And I kind of go, I don't think you should trust this new teacher who's far too eager for these things. And thinking that Claudine broke her friend's heart, because there was actually a bonding moment right before they do the misspell, where Dracula is having a conversation with her dad, and she talks about her grades, and he's like, what's your highest grade? And she said 92. I considered that a failure, and I kind of went, but a 92 is good. But this is actually going into that of Draculaura, who in this iteration is, well, half Asian. Not sure if it's Korean, Chinese, Japanese. I'm not sure which portion, but with the new line of dolls, a new generation line, Draculaura is Asian, and so it fits into that of the you have to be 100%. You have to have 100 every single time. If you have like a 99, that's not good enough. That's not good enough, and it's just that is sad and heartbreaking. I just wanted to give her a hug, like. I thought a 92 is good. You caught yourself like a A-. That's not bad. I hope it's still an A-. I'm not sure how high schools change grading. Feeling bad, Claudine packs her bags up and leaves to go home. So she's sitting at the baseball field where, of course, she ran from the very beginning of the film. Draculaura and Frankie followed her back to find her because Claudine never turned her location off or stopped talking about on her feed. Oops. I also did like that for Draculaura, she actually has her full vampiric powers because in the first one, she didn't really have that. She had to earn her way through it, which was done in the Hollywood movie. I can't remember the name. Oh, Frights, Cameras, Action. Which she got her full vampire powers in Frights, Cameras, Action by doing the vampiric deed. We hear Draculaura get transformed into a bat. All the vampire powers. But I do like that for sunlight, when she actually is in the sun, she basically says how sun is just, how the sun is just, like, she doesn't like it. It's so bright. It basically is, like, annoying. Claudine's like, but I thought you guys hate me. Like, no, you're our friend. How could we hate you? We want to still help you. Try and figure out to get you to be fully monster. Claudine's not sure what to do. Her hand goes nowhere, and I kid you not, she falls in the mud, and her regular human hand that's been monster hand that's transformed into a human hand goes in the mud, and they look and they're like, could that be possible? And they're like, that could be the key to open the door. And coincidence, it's Founders Day dinner. Woo! So, as they're getting like all the poor people, including Dracula, because of course Dracula's there. Our trio go back to the tomb, and Claudine focuses on her hand to turn it human to press onto the human-shaped lock. I kid you not. The only way to open the tomb was a handprint that's supposed to be a human handprint. Apparently, if it's monstrous, it will detect that it's a monster. It has to be a fully human hand. Hence why, like, only Jekyll could get in. Hyde could not. The Hyde personality couldn't, but the Jekyll personality could. So they were able to get into the tomb, which apparently was the tomb of an orc. And after pressing, I kid you not, the button to press into the secret lab was a button I. I wish I was joking. It was on the giant tomb. They find the secret lab where Frankie gets so excited, especially like seeing all of the things, because again, she has part of the brain of Madame Curie, and gets so excited to see the plutonium, and she's like, "Can I just mix it?" Like they get excited, like honestly, and Claudine finds the full monster serum. She's like so happy at first, but then she remembers her father, like those like the cute, nice, sweet moments of her father, and they're like, why do you look sad? It's like, if I drink this, I lose him. My dad is my secret to my other half. I can't lose him. I can't lose that. And I kind of went, honestly, that makes sense. If you become full monster, then you no longer have a connection to your dad. Don't have a connection to that part of yourself anymore. That was actually interesting. And then here comes freaking Mr. Kronos. After convincing Claudine not to drink it and give it to him, guess what this freaking son of a bee does? He drinks it. Because there's a twist, he's the villain! Here's the bigger twist I didn't figure out. I actually thought, as I'm watching this, I'm like, you know what, I feel like this is actually Mr. Hyde. He probably didn't die, he probably faked his death. No, that's not it. Kronos was his mother's maiden name. This is Hyde Jr. What? What? So the little horns came from his mom's side? Which would make sense, I don't know what, but as he's turning into, like, I kid you not, he calls it the ultimate monster form. As he's turning into this, he explains that reason he wanted this is he was also half human, half monster. And he's happy that he's finally getting transformed into a full-fledged monster, so that way, one, he can extract revenge on Monster High for expelling his father. And then number 2, because of this, once after he destroys Monster High and all the monsters, he'll go over the people that killed his father. Humans. The third thing, oh, I kid you not, this, I kind of questioned, wait, if he had this, does it mean Hyde had this, or is this the ultimate monster form? Oh my god. So, Mr. Kronos, I'm gonna call all of them that, because I don't care, Hyde Jr., we knew it was Mr. Kronos, makes more sense. When Mr. Kronos turns fully monstrous, he claims this is known as the ultimate monster form. Where for some reason, as the ultimate monster, he's able to absorb the powers of other full monsters. Like, what? Is this something the ultimate monsters have? If you're fully monstrous? Like, he absorbs all of Draculaura's power. Like, he turns into a bat for a quick second. And makes her weak. And so, the one thing that they do to escape is Frankie, they just use some chemicals and just do a splash effect. And so, they lock him in the lab. And they are like, what do we... He used to lock us... He did the lock inside. What do we do? And so, they need to find help. So, what do they do? Frankie, throughout this whole movie, they finally got a phone, and they think it's just for all social media, so they all have social media. And yes, in the trailer, they're like, you haven't used your phone as a phone? I thought it was just for social media. It makes more sense with Frankie. So they finally use it to do a live stream where the only person that follows Frankie on her social media, besides Dracula or Claudine, is Cleo. So Frankie makes a live stream on her social media, which gets the attention of Cleo and Laguna asking for help, which leads Cleo to calling Deuce, who apparently, because of him, Heath and Abby are wearing like Monster High aprons. It means they're working for the Coffee Bean. Or also they're setting dinner up for the Founders Day. They get sprung into action to go help them. And of course, Chloe gets sprung into action to help because she's in the graveyard and probably heard all the commotion going on. So as we're thinking they're going to help them get out, Draculaura actually is like, I'm fine. And it's like, wait, but I can open the door, but your vampire powers are gone. And she says, only my vampire powers. I can still perform magic. And I kind of went, yes, she can. So she uses the Power Mist unlock spell to basically disintegrate the lock. And they get out. But then here's the thing that makes me annoyed. They leave the door wide open as Mr. Crunch is trying to break down the lab door. I'm like, no one thought to close the door? Why didn't you close the door? He comes out. And then, oh, I wish this was oh my god. I wish we saw all-out battle, but it makes sense because this is a made-for-TV movie, so they have a certain budget. So what happens is so Cleo, Abby, Heath, Laguna, Gulia, and Deuce, they all get there to try and help them. And Deuce tries to use his power, but unfortunately it gets absorbed by Kronos. And I kind of went, oh no. And Mr. Kronos uses it to send Deuce back and then turn the poor guy to stone. And the last words he says to Claudine before he's fully a statue was, I'm grateful I can actually finally see you with my own eyes. Because with his he's wearing like regular like glasses, but and there's no special like film or anything. When he takes them off, he cannot look at anybody. Basically a Cyclops situation, which I thought was one, pretty neat, but also it's sad, so he can never really look at somebody fully in the eye. So him to actually, without his power, to finally look at Claudine in the eye and then die being turned to a statue, that's sad. And it was so heartbreaking and stressful for Claudine that it reverts her into her full human form. And here's the thing. Cleo starts to get a change of heart like right after the conversation with after Claudine saves her. And once that happens, like That's like the small thing for Cleo. As soon as that happens, she sees that Claudine is upset, and it's like, I know that I'm heartbroken too, but I have an idea. She knows Deuce's power better than anybody, and it's like, and they were trying to film on their phones with Kronos, because Kronos was about to go to the Founders Day dinner to get all of the Founders' powers. And so Cleo realizes, I think I know how to stop him, and Claudine is smart enough to do it. So she hands Claudine her coffin phone, and Claudine's doing like this powerful like speech, goes up to him, and is like, and she looks away as he's trying to turn her into stone. Is like, I know all your powers, and then I kid you not, he's defeated by the power of camera phone. He is defeated by the power of the camera mode on the phone, on the coffin phone. So Claudine turns it onto that. He's using his Gorgon power to look himself right in the mirror, in the face. He gets turned to stone. And because he gets turned to stone, the powers that he took get reverted back to Draculaura, and then Deuce stops being a statue, and he's okay. After seeing this movie and really thinking of it, I kind of looked at that and go, the villain gets turned into a statue with Gorgon powers. It's like Professor Van Helscream in the second movie of Monster High, who got turned into like a statue, and then he was completely forgotten about in the catacombs. Like, no one thought to bring him back to life as like a return villain for the CGI movies, the G1. So that's like a rare Easter egg. So for the writers who did that, thank you. That was brilliant. So, but then of course we get that of, oh, here comes the Founders, here comes Bloodgood, here comes Dracula. Oh, hey, Claudine is human. Oh no, this is not a good sign. Oh no. So we get to Claudine's dad coming to Monster High, and we think Claudine is going to be expelled and sent back to the human world, but she's actually willing to go back because she's not afraid to hide herself anymore. She's willing to just be who she is in the human world, which I thought that was sweet. As we get to the part where she's saying goodbye to her friends, Bloodgood's like, no, you are actually not going to be expelled. The one who was behind all this was Mr. Kronos. He was the one who was causing the blood on the wall. He was the one who was having the school shake. It was him. You showed that you really are a true monster. And so, here's what we're going to do. We're going to change. And with Dracula, it's like, we are going to upgrade these centuries-old rules. Not all humans are evil. There's still a good portion of it, but not all of them are. At the end of the film, Monster High is made official to be open to both full monsters and half human, half monster students, starting with Claudine Wolf. It also ends with Cleo being more friends with Frankie. It has Deuce deciding with all his courage to actually run for student council president. It has Dracula being like, I didn't know that we don't approve of witchcraft, but we should probably break the barriers to let you be the first vampire witch. Like, fully approving on her witchcraft, and all of them, it's all so happy. Everything's happy. They're dancing, and nothing can go wrong. Except that's not how it ends. It ends the movie in this, which I'm going to guess right now because we got a second movie, and who's actually geared more toward the center of it is this mystical room, and there's potions and stuff, and there's a woman with long nails over a crystal ball, and she's saying, she is the one that will help us destroy the vampires. Bring her to me. And I'm like, which one? Oh, Draculaura's in the center. Oh, she's the main character in the next one. Woo! And the end credits have all behind the scenes stuff, some bloopers, the cast getting their makeup on, some nice little fun videos, them relaxing, and a few other tidbits. And of course, it says at the very end of the end credits says, be yourself, be unique, be a monster, the original tagline. I enjoyed this movie a lot. This was a good love letter for Monster High. You could tell that the writers and the people who made it, including the cast, had so much fun on set. It was so wonderful. It was amazing. I'm grateful that they managed to reinvent it for a new generation. I feel like this will be in good hands, and I cannot wait for the second one. We're definitely going to be delving more into the magic of the monster world along with the vampire lore, and we're delving more into Dracula. And I feel like if we're going to continue this run, it might be Frankie as the third one, because they have only mentioned their parents. Are their parents human? Are their parents monsters? I'm so curious about that. Though overall, this movie is a nice breath of fresh air, and I fully enjoyed it, and I cannot wait for the second film. Oh, that's all I can really say on this. If you do want to watch the Monster High, the movie, it's available now on Paramount Plus. That's how I was able to watch it. And I know that the anime series is also going to be premiering on Paramount Plus, so I'm excited to watch that when it does. I'm not going to do vlogs on each of the episodes because that's time consuming, and I have other vlogs I need to edit, for crying out loud. I have reviews I need to actually start doing in November. Thank you all so much for turning into this. This is nighttime. If you want to help support the show, you become a Patreon today at patreon.com/nightmareproductions. You could be these cool, amazing Patreons that are on the screen right now. I don't know where they're going to be because I don't know how I'm going to be feeling like editing it today, but they're wonderful, very sweet, and I thank them all for their patience as I'm trying to get stuff out. You can also follow me on my Twitter and my Instagram. I've been actually being more social on my Instagram, and I kind of do have a TikTok, which I might actually start doing some clips showing sneak peeks of vlogs. I just need to figure out how to do that. I know one of my friends does it, but I'll figure it out for me as a way to promote my videos onto a different platform, even if it's just tiny snippets. If you feel like it, you can buy some merch from me on my TeePublic shop, which is in the description below. And if you feel like actually wanting to see my opinions on the original Monster High films, specifically the first 12, I recommend going to the Escape from Monster High playlist I have, which is on my channel, where me and my friend Aaron go through all 12 Monster High films, and he was the one who actually got me into Monster High. I thank him all for this. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have managed to miss something out that I technically did miss this out when I was just like almost at the end of high school, and I'm kind of sad I had to skip down on it because this would have been something I would have enjoyed it. I mean, it was kind of my brand, but I kind of appreciate it now, and I'm very excited for G3's future. So that is all I got for you today. I'm going to rest my voice up for the final week. I don't really have much to say on at the end of these vlogs, so I will see you all later. Have a good night.